Childcare is the care of a child, no matter who does it. Childcare is not only a women's issue, but also a family issue. We have across Canada a tremendous and beautiful diversity of care options available, care that is both done and chosen by families according to their own cultures, their customs, traditions, and work needs. Prior to the pandemic, Statistics Canada data tells us that most parents do in fact find what they are looking for. 2/3 of parents report no difficulty in finding a space or a childcare arrangement. And only 3% of parents cite a shortage of spaces as a reason for not using non-parental childcare. Again, nationally, according to Statistics Canada, about 60% of children under 6 are in non-parental care. We don't know a lot about those 60%, whether they're in for 5 hours or 55 hours, but of those children, about half are in childcare centers or in a preschool program. What this means is if we consider all children in Canada under the age of 6, those both in parental care and in non-parental care, only 31% are currently in center-based spaces or preschool. Polls and surveys consistently show over years that parents do not prefer center spaces for their children. So the obvious implication of this is that by using public money to disproportionately fund spaces, the vast majority of Canadian children receive no benefit. Public funding for spaces is structurally opposed to equity for all families. And this inequity, I would argue, is particularly bad in a pandemic. At a time when mothers, both doing waged work and those not, most needed and continue to need support in the home, money is flowing to spaces sitting empty because we are sheltering in place. The data further suggests that it's not a lack of access to childcare that is preventing mothers from returning to waged work. In Ontario, 93% of daycares were back in operation by the end of September. But in places like Brampton, for example, only 20% of those spaces are occupied. I have the data for Alberta. They reported 94% of daycares were back operating with an enrollment rate of about 50%. This suggests that factors other than the availability of childcare spaces are at play when considering how and when mothers return to waged work, particularly in and after a pandemic. The federal government, I think, has many options to help families, and I will suggest 4 today. The first is arguably the most important, and it is to start consulting more widely with truly diverse communities, parents, child development experts. Gordon Neufeld is a treasure to Canada and a developmental psychologist who is based in Vancouver, specializes in attachment. The various economists who have done peer-reviewed research on the issue of quality in Quebec in particular, Stephen Lehrer, Milligan Baker Gruber, all of these people need to be involved and consulted. The research and the voices that I am bringing here today do in fact represent a majority of Canadians. Most Canadians want flexibility in how we care for our very youngest so families can do what work for us. Second, I would suggest we can enhance existing federal programs such as Successful Canada Child Benefit. Third, I might consider changes to make maternity and parental leave more flexible. Finally, bilateral federal provincial agreements, and particularly agreements with our First Nations, should maximize freedom and flexibility so as to honor the unique heritage, culture, history, and tradition of different cultures across Canada. There is little evidence that expanded space provision will help mothers return to waged work after the pandemic. There is evidence of an existing ecosystem of parental and non-parental childcare in Canada that is neither properly understood or accounted for and risks being steamrolled in a so-called universal system. The federal government should cherish and defend the beautiful choice and diversity and intricate patchwork quilt of variety that already exists in childcare across Canada today. Thank you.